Hi, it's Paul here from selfhelpforlife.com, and today I'm going to talk about how to overcome any addiction. So what is an addiction? Well, I believe that any addiction has 5 components to it. So the first one is the addiction must meet certain emotional or physical needs. For example, people smoke to relax or eat to feel secure. Secondly, the behavior needs to be done more often over time to achieve the same result. So you build up a tolerance to it, or habituation. Alcohol is a great example of this. I know when I first started having a few beers at university that it didn't take much to get me quite tipsy and drunk, but over time it seemed to take more to achieve the same result. The third component is that it harms you in some way. Now the most obvious is physically, but this can be mentally or emotionally as well. And then the fourth component is that it's usually something that you didn't want to stop initially. So, drinking alcohol when you're young, that was a fun thing to do and something that you wouldn't want to stop. But it gets to a stage now where you do want to stop, but when you do want to stop, you can't. Or maybe more accurately, you believe that you can't. And the fifth component is that now you receive little or no pleasure from whatever the addictive behavior or substance is, but you feel that you can't live without it, so you keep doing it. So the benefit's not really there anymore, but it's been replaced by a fear that you can't live without whatever it is, and that's that fear that keeps you doing it. Okay, so they're the 5 components that I believe any addiction has. And if you're watching this video and thinking I've got no addictions at all, then I want you to question that and ask yourself, could you have an addiction to thinking? Okay, and if the answer is to yes, then I've done another video which goes into that in more detail. So I'm now going to cover a 10-step process to help you overcome any addiction. So step 1 is to identify what needs the addiction is trying to meet. So in the case of alcohol, that may be to help you relax or to help you switch off. Maybe getting drunk gives you that feeling of escapism. Maybe it gives you the confidence to do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do. With food, it may be that sense of comfort. Again, it may be to escape. Maybe it's to relieve boredom, to help you relax. Or maybe you just feel you want a treat. If it's smoking, maybe that helps you relax as well. Maybe it allows you to hide some social insecurity. It helps you fit in. Maybe it helps you fit in with younger people who also smoke. And if it's something like OCD, then maybe that need to always check things is to help you reduce some anxiety. Or maybe it's to help you overcome a fear that something might bad happen. So if I keep doing this thing, then whatever I fear that's bad is not going to happen. Okay, so that's step 1, identifying what needs the addiction is trying to meet. Okay, step 2 is to find out how it harms you. Now you may already know the effects of smoking or alcohol or eating the wrong kind of foods, but I encourage you to do some further research and really find out exactly how it harms you. So for example, alcohol, we know that that's going to affect your health over time. It's also going to affect your money because it's expensive. It affects your sleep, and I'm going to talk about that in another video. It drains your energy, particularly in the morning. And if you get really addicted to alcohol, it can really affect your relationships, with your partner, and it can affect your job. You could lose your job if you come in too many days with a hangover. If it's bad food, then that's obviously going to affect your health. That's going to affect your sleep as well, and your level of energy. It affects the clothes that you can fit into, and it really affects your level of self-esteem. If it's smoking, well then there's obvious effects on your health, but also on your sense of control, the fact that you feel you can't give it up. Obviously that eats into your money as well, affects your fitness, your youthfulness as well, because people who smoke tend to look older. And if it's an OCD type of behavior, then that's affecting your time because you're always checking something, your overall peace of mind, and that can get very frustrating with relationships as well if you're constantly doing these little rituals. Okay, so step 3 is to assess if there's any pleasure right now from whatever that addictive behavior is. Okay, and again, I mean, just to give you an idea of this, I'll talk about my experience with alcohol. I mean, I've never been someone who drinks excessively anyway, but you know, at university it was really fun and I had some amazing experiences after having a few drinks, and you know, I continued into my 20s and into my 30s as well. But towards the end of my 30s, I got to a point where, you know, I wasn't really enjoying it that much. I wasn't getting the benefits of it. You know, recently now I drink a lot less, you know, and don't even find it that much enjoyable anymore. I find I can often achieve the same emotional states in other ways. So really just see if there's any pleasure still there and assess what that is. Okay, step number 4. Find 3 other ways to meet the addiction needs. Okay, so we've already identified in step 1 what needs the addiction is trying to meet. So now come up with 3 other healthy ways that you could meet this need. And that way the addiction will become redundant. So if it's alcohol to relax and switch off, or what are the 3 other ways that you could use to switch off? You know, meditation could be one, going to the gym could be another, maybe reading or listening to some lovely music could be another. There's so many ways. Maybe it's spending more time with friends. So just looking at what other ways, finding 3 other ways that you can meet whatever that need that you need, that addictive behavior is currently giving you. Okay, step number 5 is to ask yourself, is this really an addiction or just a strong habit? Now, this is a question I always ask anyone who comes to me for help with quitting smoking and sometimes other addictions as well. So, and the way I tend to phrase this is, if you were on a long flight, say with smoking, for instance, you're on a long flight and you can't smoke on the plane. You know, I ask people, well, what's that like? And usually they will say, well, I managed just to not think about it. Okay, I know I can't smoke, so I'm not going to think about it for the duration of the flight. And so if that's the case, then it really is more of a habit, because there are times when they can't do it. You know, when you're asleep at night, you won't do the habit. Okay. Now, if something's really an addiction, like you know, someone who's like a heroin addict, you know, imagine a heroin addict on a plane for 8 hours. Would they be able to just not think about it for 8 hours? Probably not. Or someone with diabetes who has to take insulin injections regularly, would they be able to think about not doing that on the plane for 8 hours? Probably not. Okay. So you know, and the real extreme example was if someone had a gun to your head, would you do that addictive behavior? No, you wouldn't. Okay, so pretty much everything is more of a habit than an addiction, and just thinking of it is actually a habit, and saying, look, this is just a habit I've got, it's not an addiction. That in itself is going to help you think about it in a different way. Now, step number 6 is to identify and change the triggers. So a trigger is a person, a place, or a thing, or a feeling that makes you want to do, or at least think about, the addictive behavior. Okay, so a typical example could be you have a cup of coffee and that wants to make you have a smoke. Okay, or you meet with friends for a beer and that wants to make you light up as well. Okay, or you get home from a stressful day at work and that feeling of stress makes you go and raid the fridge to eat something that's not healthy. Okay, it could also be feelings of loneliness or boredom, those kind of things as well. So there will always be a trigger that makes you think about wanting to do the addictive behavior. So step 6 is about identifying what the triggers are and then changing them. So coming up with new triggers. So sometimes it might be like, if it's the coffee that makes you want to have the cigarette, then maybe you can change that to being something other than coffee. Okay, so just coming up with new triggers or making it harder to access those existing triggers. Okay, so if you feel lonely at home and then you then have some comfort eating, then maybe you go out more nights in the week so you don't have that trigger of being at home and being alone, for example. So it's really just being creative with how you can plan your life as much as possible to remove those triggers or replace those triggers with other things. So step number 7 is to make a plan to stop. So start by setting a date, ideally within the next month. 1 or 2 weeks is good. And then create plans and backup plans with lots of ideas on what you're going to do instead of the addictive behavior. So then whenever you feel the urge, or even before you feel the urge to do that behavior, you can switch to doing something or a number of different other things. So for example, in your plan, there could be a list of people to call, different activities you can do, things like that. Okay, step number 8 is to be kind on yourself. So it's easy to get very guilty around the addiction and possible relapses, and get very hard on yourself and that kind of thing. And if you start to feel guilty or fearful, then that can spiral into more addiction, or maybe the addiction that you've given up, you just start another addiction instead. Okay, so a common one could be you give up smoking and then start comfort eating instead. Remember that the addiction that you originally started, you did it for a reason, and that reason was to feel good. So you want to go easy on yourself when you're finding other ways to feel good. So treat your body with love and care, nourish it well with good food, spend time with quality people, and get plenty of sleep. And really important just to sort of love yourself and just feel good about you, being a new person with new behaviors. So step 9 is to think about the feeling that you have after the addictive behavior. So what people tend to do is they tend to think about what they're going to feel while they're doing the addictive behavior. Okay, and then once they've done it, they then have that feeling of remorse or guilt or whatever it is afterwards. So if you can begin to start thinking about how you're going to feel after you've done it, before you do it, then you're less likely to do it. Okay, so if you often have a cream cake at night, and then as soon as you have that conflict inside, that guilt that says, why did I do that? This just doesn't make sense. Then if you can start to think about that before you have it, then you probably won't have it. Okay, so that's a really simple one to do. Number 10 is to, and this is the last one, is to remove the addiction from your core identity. Okay, so I'll give you an example with smokers. Often they say, I'm a smoker. Okay, so a change in identity could be, I am someone that smokes. And then you can think about all the other things that that person might do. They might be a great husband, a great father, they might be great in their career, they might have some wonderful hobbies, and that really diminishes the sense of that addiction as part of their identity. So whatever it is for you, think about all the other things that are part of your identity. And when you do that, it's going to make this thing seem much smaller and actually put it into its right place, so where it really is in your life, rather than seeming like it's the all-consuming part of your life. Okay, and if you create a new sense of identity around being a fit and healthy person that looks after themselves, then this addiction will start to seem alien. It will start to be in conflict with your core identity. So if you're seeing yourself as wanting to become a healthy person, an emotionally secure person, then these old habits are just going to seem to be just not in line with that anymore. Okay, and again, at the most basic, just focusing on that feeling, that identity of being someone that loves themselves, looks after their body, that kind of thing. Okay, so those were the 10 steps to help you overcome any addiction. Now, overcoming addictions isn't always easy. A lot of people manage to do it by themselves, but sometimes you do need the help of friends, you need a good support group, and even the help from a professional. So if you're struggling with an addiction and you've tried some of these methods already, or you've given them a go and you're still struggling, then I can help you. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and I do sessions over Skype, so it doesn't matter where you are, I can help you. So if you want to find out more about that, just go over to selfhelpforlife.com/hypnotherapy. So that's selfhelpforlife.com/hypnotherapy. And in there you'll find more information about how I can help you overcome your addictive behaviors. So I hope you found this useful. Please do like this video and subscribe to this channel as well. And if you haven't already, do check out my website. That's selfhelpforlife.com. In there you will find the written versions to most of my videos, also links to my podcast and various social media channels as well. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I look forward to sharing more great content with you very soon. Bye for now.